Fishing Obsessed podcast. We'll be sitting down with a fresh guest each week. Someone who shares the same kayak fishing passion that runs through our veins. We're talking kayak anglers, kayak companies, lure experts. Heck, anyone who's got a story to tell about landing the big ones from a kayak. We're setting our sights on becoming the #1 kayak fishing podcast in the world. You'll get a chuckle, a grin, and hey, maybe even a belly laugh. Because we believe in the power of humor. But above all, we're here to educate and inspire. So, whether you're a seasoned kayak angler or just dipping your toes into this exhilarating world, join us on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. It's time to reel in adventure, camaraderie, and the joy of the catch. Here's your host, Darren Windle.
Hey, fish freaks. Welcome to episode number 90 of the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast, your ultimate source for all things kayak fishing. And this episode is proudly sponsored by Kayak Bass Fishing, where KBF state challenges let anglers compete anytime, anywhere. These online catch photo release tournaments run at the state level, the regional level, the national level. So no matter where you live, there is a challenge for you. And all you have to do is learn all about it. Head over to kayakbassfishing.com and just hit the compete button. That's all you gotta do, Seth. Just hit the compete button and learn. Why haven't you done it? Is there a hammer down there in Florida that keeps you away from the monthly challenges?
There's a guy that you've had on your show named Dalton that wins all of those. So unless I just want to donate my money, I'm just gonna watch him take the dub.
Take him out.
He's good, man. He catches big fish. And I don't quite have the time to go find them unless I'm fishing an event. So it's a little tricky. I'll probably hop in some with my wife just for some practice with her. She's really enjoying it. The fishing, she's really getting into it. So it's awesome.
Well, yeah. When she gets her first catch is a 9.7, and then Field and Stream reposts her, and she goes to 1 million views, which takes the average content creator like a year, and she does it in a matter of like 45 seconds. I can see how she could be into it.
Yeah. First catch of the year. She's caught other big fish, but first big catch of the year. But she has like 2 million now, man. 3 different platforms. She's at the 2 million spot.
This is ridiculous.
Gotta take her fishing more often. It's a cheat code for social media.
Yeah.
If you look at like my Instagram and my TikTok, it's like my wife.
Oh, yeah.
Me, my wife.
You've been cutting that thing up and slicing and dicing it in every way possible. And that's the content creator way, man. I was like, wait a second. Didn't I watch this yesterday?
It's like a 3 to 5
angle.
minute clip. Yeah. It's like a 3 to 5 minute clip. We're like, oh, we'll post one today. We'll take the back half, do that next week. Different
Field and
angle
Stream reposted that thing.
Field and Stream.
Sent it to the moon.
Bass Forecasted. Christine Fisher reposted it a bunch and had a lot of nice things to say. Yeah, it's been all over. We've had friends and family in Texas reach out and said they saw it just randomly. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've never had a video go viral. I mean, it's my video, it's my wife, but it's my video.
You were shooting it. Yeah, it's yours.
I have credit, but I've never had something go viral. The amount of like likes, follows, it's just every second, like literally every second. It's the craziest thing. You can just sit there and go ding 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 ding. It's like, too bad it's not dollars, but it's like right.
You monetize? No, not yet on Instagram.
No.
Oh man, that'd be a payday. Hey, real quick, if you're listening in right now and you were served up that video, they might be like, what are you talking about? Do you have it? Can you bring up the video?
Yeah,
I got Colin B. Basson over here. He said, funny thing, that video came up as an ad on Facebook for me.
An ad? Who was paying for the ad?
I don't know. Maybe it was like you had it on Instagram and they were serving it and recommending it on Facebook. That's what I think.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Phil McStory says it was in Field and Stream the other day.
Yeah.
See. It was a Field and Stream ad.
A Field and Stream
That's what
ad.
Colin B. Basson said.
That's cool. Well, that bass also, we sent it in, and I'm currently looking for it to show it to everyone. But we sent it into the Florida Trophy catch because anything over 8 pounds. Can you see me right now, by the way?
Yeah, unfortunately,
okay, yeah. I'm surfing TikTok right now to find the video. we put it for the Florida trophy catch, and they emailed us, and I found it here so we can watch whenever you're ready. But they emailed us back, well, emailed my wife back and said, hey, we would like to use your video or your picture. You just have to submit different photos. We'd like to use your photo for like our content and like put out in like magazines, the flyers in the state of Florida. We just would like permissions to use your video or your image. And I'm like, dude, I've sent in trophy catches. They have never once asked me for permission.
They don't want your ugly mug, man. They don't want
But
nothing to
my
do with
wife,
your face.
Here, let me see. I'll pull it up right. No, I guess I got to share, right? All right.
Yeah,
well,
share it and play it.
Yep. It's going to go crazy when I go to present here because it's going to share my screen and it's going to be the endless Zoom real quick. So
you haven't seen this. It's worth it.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Come on. It's there. All right, I'm going to add you to the stage.
Boom. Okay, we'll fix it. All right, that's better, right?
All right, here we go.
I don't know if you'll have sound or not.
Put your hand in there.
Can you hear it?
We got it.
Just grab the line. That's all right. Holy smokes, babe. Grab it by the tongue. No.
Grab it by the tongue.
Hold it sideways. Hold it up.
My kid has to go to the bathroom. Great.
Of course. Yeah, right in the middle of the longest fish of your wife's life.
Yeah, everyone was saying like, "Oh, that fish was already caught. It's dead, whatever." But they don't realize she had it on for like. What pounds is that?
What pounds? Grab it by the tongue. I love it.
Yeah. Well, she had it on for probably 4 minutes plus because I was hundreds of yards away, and she's like screaming like, "I got a big one!" And I'm looking over, I'm seeing this giant fish flopping. I'm like, "All right, let's go." Got over there, and by the time I got over there, it was already, worn out. So she was able to land it pretty easily. So
yeah.
That was
well,
cool.
Elizabeth Z said, "Oh, I saw this."
Yeah,
they didn't realize that was your wife. Probably because like people are watching that and be like, "Seth, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at your wife and I'm just not making the connection." So that's why people are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Fly Fox Fishing said, "Holy smokes, Josh Latimer! Wow." And so pretty wild. So that's been fun for you.
It was 9.28, I think 9.28.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Man.
Good one.
Man. Seth is the man. Phil McStory. Well, guys, I wanted to have Seth on. We don't have the guest tonight is Seth because about a month and a half ago we got this conversation going, and he was like, "Hey, I want to give this YouTube thing a run. I want to give content creation a run." He has some dreams and aspirations when it comes to being an angler, and so I wanted to kind of give a behind the scenes, a little bit about Seth's story, just so you know who's talking to you. And 2, we're going to dive into his bread and freaking butter. We're going to be talking jerkbaits. He is a simple fisherman, but very effective fisherman. Just won the Florida FKB. What's it called?
The Florida Kayak Bass Trail.
Bass Trail. It just came from Ocala. I got first place team. He got third place individual, won second place for the Florida Kayak Bass Trail that weekend. And so, Seth, where are you located again at? I got some questions in the.
Yeah, so I live just outside like Sarasota, Bradenton.
Okay.
Florida, Southwest Florida. So south of Tampa.
Yeah.
Pretty far south where it's warm.
So let's unpack your story a little bit. Cause I always think it's fun to who are we talking to here, Seth? So when I was like, hey, why don't you join? Because I believe that one makes the show a lot more well-rounded, right? You're down in Florida, you're in Northeast Ohio. Yeah. I'm literally going to learn a lot from you about what I'm going to be throwing here and what the fish are doing. And so give me another I'm about a month behind you. Maybe a little bit more than that, actually. Maybe 2 months behind you.
Probably.
Yeah, it's literally just ice off. I was out in my kayak this past weekend, and half the lake was open water and half the lake was ice. And so
I saw that
cool. pretty wild up here. But tell us a little bit of story. This is something you do for fun on the side. Actually, I'm looking at your Facebook page, 70 subscribers. So you're right at the beginning of Facebook. Greatness. YouTube.
Yeah.
70 subscribers, 3 videos. You're in a bass boat on the header image. You got a lot of work to do. And it's cracking me up, your titles. bass fishing with drone.
Those are
Florida
10 years
gator.
old. Those are 10-year-old videos.
Bass boot camp submission, Seth Taylor. Like the worst titles I have seen in my entire life.
I had to title it that way, by the way. It was a contest, all right? It was it was an AFCO contest, and I got second in it. And first place got all expenses paid for the Bassmaster Opens that year.
Well, why didn't you get first?
I wasn't good enough to get first. I got second.
So
That's true. I got like $1,000 worth of an AFCO gift card for second. So got a bunch of AFCO stuff. But yeah, I got a lot of work to do on the YouTube. It's getting there. It's getting.
Head over to Seth Taylor Fishing. Let's get him up to 100 subs at least. Come on.
Fishing. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So yeah, walk me through.
So I'll make my history of life pretty quick, and then we'll get up to speed. So I grew up in the Northeast. I grew up in central Pennsylvania in a town called Halifax. Was right alongside the Susquehanna River. Like the town of Halifax is on the Susquehanna River. So every summer we'd be on the Susquehanna fishing smallmouth, and it's a different type of fishery. It's a river fishery. It's world class. Like it's so easy to catch smallmouth. You don't have to be good. You just literally throw anything out there. But besides that, I grew up trout fishing. So my dad got me into trout fishing when I was little. He passed away when I was little, but I kept on that love for trout fishing throughout. And trout fishing's like light line. It's like 4 pound, 2 pound, and I fish tournaments. I actually have, I don't know if you can see behind me, these two trophies. The green one was when I was 7 years old. So that's 28 years old. That one was when I was like 11. So they're trout derby, the trout fishing tournament.
OG, man. OG.
Yeah. So I'm used to like sight fishing fish, which would lead into what I like to do today, which is sight fishing on beds for bass. But I ended up going to West Virginia University, and I was one of the first members of the Bass Fishing Club at West Virginia. I was a freshman there in 2008, so it was right when college fishing was getting started. And I fished a couple tournaments, traveled with West Virginia. We had just started the club. There was no sponsors or anything like that. And I got absolutely destroyed, like going to these big lakes. Like I had no idea, because I'm used to fishing like smaller stuff back in the day. And it really opened my eyes to like, dude, I got a lot to learn in how to break down water, big lakes, where the fish are, what they're doing. It was a lot. So once I graduated from West Virginia, I started in the pipeline industry right away. And I was an environmental inspector for oil and gas companies scattered throughout the country. And it made really good money. I sacrificed pretty much all my 20s because we worked every single day. But I was able to go to different states, and like the days we would have off, I was able to go fish like lakes in Texas and Ohio, like actually Mosquito Lake over by you, Darren. I fished tournament, got third place in, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so I'll be able to fish like all over the country in different types of waters. And I was really able to like learn how to break down new bodies of water when I had a bass boat, when I was doing oil and gas. So over time, I've met my wife, we had kids, we had 3 daughters, and it's too much work traveling every year to a different state in the pipeline. It's not a good family life. So we decided we want to move to South Florida. And when we moved to South Florida, I'm getting to the point of the kayaks here. When we moved to South Florida, I needed additional money for a deposit down payment on my house. So I sold my bass boat, and we already had a kayak, but I sold my bass boat and really went in on the kayak fishing. And it has been probably the best thing I could have did for my future in bass fishing, because it allowed me to slow down and break down water and not just jump around and move to different parts of the lake and just like, I'm not catching fish here, I'm going to go over here and try this point. It put me in a location that I had to find fish at within a general vicinity. I didn't even have a trolling motor up until beginning of this year, like 3 months ago. And the purpose of that was like, I want to be in this area and find the fish, even if it's not going to win. And that's what I did. So that leads me to kind of where I'm at. I mean, I did back to YouTube, my old channel and stuff. I mean, I had a YouTube channel 15 years ago. I was uploading a bunch of hunting content, and probably
15 years, bro. If you would have stayed with that, you would be like Mr. Beast of hunting.
It was called the Backwoods Boys. We were filming our hunts ourselves. Yep. Yeah. Filming our self hunts 15 years ago, man. And I was, it stinks we didn't stick with it. It is what it is. And then while I was doing pipelining on my free time, I would do some video and how to YouTube. And that's actually the YouTube that you attach there, or whatever you said, Seth Taylor Fishing. And that's the one that I'm going to start back up. I have a video that I'm going to post this week, probably tomorrow if I have some time, from the Ocala event, Kayak Anglers of Florida. Then I have another one from the event I just won this past weekend. I'm going to post, and they'll get better. You know, right now, I don't have like the B-roll cute stuff. Like, it's none of that. It's just
cute stuff.
It's going to be, honestly, I mean, I fished an event this past Saturday and I dominated it. I mean, I had the winning bag in the first 45 minutes that no one beat.
What?
And yeah.
Let me guess. Berkeley Stunner.
It was this weekend. Yeah. I'm out in the middle. Like, it's not going to be a sexy video because I'm out in the middle of the open water throwing a jerkbait. Like, you're just going to see the back of my head, a screen, and me catching fish all day. So there's not like certain things. And I forgot my other mount, so I couldn't even really talk in the video. So whatever, if you guys want to watch it, you'll see me slay them. But I'm going to start adding stuff, hopefully weekly, and really start to break down what I'm doing, kind of show what I'm doing and how I'm winning events. So yeah, it's kind of my story, man.
You went from 70 to 77 subscribers in that little rip just now. So thank you, everybody who's out there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
He's going to drop his 4th video tomorrow. Going to be hot.
4th video. Yeah. Get your money.
You know what?
You guys.
I had a 4th video 4 years ago, so I get it. And so you're on your way, my friend. I think you'd be surprised. When you win tournaments, everybody gets real interested in seeing what you did. Yeah. And even if that means you're out in the middle of open water throwing a jerkbait. And so you won the tournament in the first 45 minutes. So let's start there. Let's hop in. Thanks for sharing a bit of your story. I know we met because we were fishing the Knucklehead this past year together. Right. And so you won a spot onto the team. Mm-hmm. You went down there. I think you picked up over 200 bass over the period of
a couple of days. Yep.
3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have had more because you were on them, but we were looking for larger fish for the Knucklehead. Right. 200 bass on freaking jerkbait. I mean, the whole team was using jerkbaits, and none of us really fished jerkbaits until the end of that weekend. My goodness, my hand and arm and shoulder was sore by the end of that weekend because I didn't have the right rod. So we'll get into that as well. So really quick to kind of segue us in, talk about how you won, why you were out in the middle of open water, what jerkbait. Just kind of get us into the jerkbait conversation here. And then I'm going to go uber tactical. I got a ton of questions that we're just going to rip through. If you have a question for Seth specific, well, to jerkbait or anything else that we're talking about tonight, throw that in the comment section. I will try to star those and we'll circle back after we finish thoughts. All right. Let's do it. Seth, okay. How'd you win? Yeah. How many anglers? Set it up for us. All that jazz. Boom. Big flex, folks. Big flex. That's a big check.
So this one, I think, had 38 anglers.
Okay.
And it's the Florida Kayak Bass Trail in the state of Florida. It's the highest participated trail in the state of Florida. There's other ones like the Bass Nation one, which is a good one, really good one for the state of Florida, but it's separated into 4 divisions. So the events don't have the turnout. This one averages probably about 40 to 50 anglers in events. So it's a good size. But the reason I was jerkbait fishing on that lake is I was there 2 weeks ago, and that's where I fished for Ocala. I didn't get to practice in between there, and I just wanted to show up, and I needed to win an event to make the state championship again this year because I haven't been fishing many of the local trails. It's more national this year.
Okay.
So I wanted to go in and win, and you'll see in my YouTube video that I'll post here, the second one, probably next week, that and I put it on my Instagram too, like, I'm going to win this event. I'm not going to have fun or do anything. Like, I'm going to win. And if I don't win, it's going to be a waste of my time because I need the money. I need to qualify for the state championship. I'm missing my girls' soccer game. So I'm going to win the event. And that's what I did in the first hour. So the reason I was doing jerkbait fishing is it's kind of been cold down here a little bit. And this lake specifically is relatively shallow. And the fish haven't really been pushing up the spawn's already kind of happened.
Right.
So there's a lot of the bigger fish and post spawners are kind of out in the main lake. And when I say main lake, it's probably only 7 feet deep, 8 feet deep at the deepest.
Okay.
But there's a lot of grass in different areas. And I have some really nice areas that it's bare bottom with scattered grass all around it. There's tilapia beds in there, and you'll see that on my video as well. There's these big tilapia beds, and the fish, these bass, I don't know if they're just wanting to hang out or stage, or they like it as an ambush spot, but these bass go and sit.
Got them on the freeze.
They sit in these tilapia beds. They're not spawning. I mean, they already did spawn. Some of them did spawn in there, but not this past weekend. They just sit in there, and they protect it almost like a bed, which is funny. But once they leave the bed, they don't come back. So if you throw something in, like just say a jerkbait, you throw a jerkbait over, they chase your jerkbait and they don't take it, they swim off. They don't come back.
They don't circle back like they're
right, but they're really aggressive within the bed. And for some reason, they don't want the Senko or bottom baits this week. So I threw a jerkbait out there, and I mean, I did short cast there, and you saw the short cast I did on Gunnersville. Short, accurate cast. Get the jerkbait right over top of them, get it real close. They swing around, grab it, set the hook, and bring them in. I mean, that was pretty much the deal. But without the tilapia beds, there was also bass roaming around in these flats in between these big grass areas. And, I'm using my Garmin, my forward-facing sonar to see these fish. And I'm casting out, in the beginning, I'm casting at every fish just to get a limit. I had a limit in like 10 minutes. Wow. I catch every fish. And then as I'm calling up, I'm only looking for bigger ones. So I'm not going to cast at ones that are like 14, 16 inches, stuff like that. So as I see bigger fish, I'm casting at them. So my rate of catches throughout the day start declining because I'm looking for bigger ones. But that was the reason I threw the jerkbait over everything else. The jerkbait for me it's kind of like if you watch the Elite Series, the forward-facing guys, they do like their strolling baits, the tiny little minnows that they have, and a jerk bait and a glide bait. Those are like the 3 probably most common used. And glide bait's kind of towards the bottom. That's like a big fish type bait, or they can't get it to bite on anything else. And the reason for that, and when you have forward facing sonar, you learn like fish behavior and how they react to certain baits. And there's, to me, and everything I say tonight is just like my experience and what I've seen work for me.
You're winning. So when you're winning, I'm listening.
So like there's a million different ways you can do things, but what I've seen as by far the most effective is like a hover rig and a jerk bait. And I don't like doing the hovering stuff because I'm in a kayak. There's a lot of movement. It's more difficult to keep it in front of the fish, above the fish. A jerk bait on a kayak allows there to be movement of the kayak. It allows your cast to not be perfect because you can jerk it a little bit. And even if you stop jerking the jerk bait and you need to adjust something or your scope or whatever, it just sits there and waits for you to come back and start retrieving it. So if you had a bait that sank or anything, it goes to the bottom, it messes up the whole cast. So it's an efficiency thing too. But the fish react to a jerk bait and like the hover baits better than anything else you can throw at them, in my opinion. Now, all fish are different. Just like if you bed fish, you're going to have certain fish that want it over here, or they want this bait or that bait. All fish are different. But primarily, the overwhelming evidence that I've seen are those 2 baits will get a reaction out of the fish more than anything else.
Is a jerk bait, and you said those 2 baits.
Like a hover bait, like a little,
bait.
Yeah, like a little minnow with a little lead head to it. Yep.
So how many rods are you carrying with you? 2?
So yeah, 3? So I typically do. It all depends, like on the event. So I won't fish jerkbait everywhere. Like if I have to go punch, if I have to go flip, do pads, I'll do that. But if it's it just depends. It's usually 6. Answer your question, simple answer, usually around 6, because more than that, it gets cumbersome in my kayak.
So what did you have what you're heading into this event this past weekend? Of course, you got your tried and true. And you have a stroll, you have I don't. No, you didn't.
It's too difficult for me I can in deep water, but this water is like 5 to 6 feet. So your error of margin to keep the bait above the fish perfectly on it is like real low. So I'm not even messing with it. If it were 50 feet deep, Yeah, or 30 feet. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so deep water, you have strolling bait. What else do you have?
I had two different. So I had. Let me say this: the Stunna 112 plus one. So this is not the deepest, but a deeper diving one, and then the Stunna 112. So I have one that crashes fast, and I have one that's a little bit more shallow. So different rods, right? So if they're a little bit deeper, or if there's heavy wind, I usually go with a heavier bill. And the reason for that is because I need shorter casts on a kayak. And this was a Palapalooza event when we had like 15, 20 mile an hour winds on the first night. And I went out there and whacked them. I got to get close to the fish, and they're like 6 feet down, because if they're far, it's hard to get an accurate cast in the wind. So I'm close. I'm like 20, 25 feet from the fish. Yeah, so I'm on top of them. So I have like more away from it. A deep diver crankbait jerkbait, so I can do a close cast and immediately kind of shoots down to them, instead of having to overcast them. It's an accuracy,
and run it over them, right?
An efficiency thing, because when you're out there and you're looking at them on your graph and you're casting and you keep missing, like you just wasted 10, 15 minutes on bad casts, and that adds up. Like if you do that again later on, you're losing a half hour, and then you're losing an hour. So it's important to get accurate first casts on these fish, especially if they go and chase the bait and they don't take it. You messed up the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I had a deep diving jerkbait. I had more of a shallow jerkbait. I had different size jerkbaits, like the Megabass 110 plus one, which is like a smaller profile bait. And then I had the Rapala X Wrap, which it's like an alternative jerkbait that I use, and it has a little feather on the back.
Feather on the end, yeah.
And sometimes, I don't know what it is, but sometimes they just prefer having the little feather. It's less often, but I keep it on there just in case. Also had a Senko.
When do you throw the feather?
When other things aren't working.
When literally every other jerkbait's not working for you, I was like, I'll just try the feather.
Maybe if they're chasing, if they're following my bait, which happens a lot, if they follow and don't commit over and over and over again, you try some other stuff. Like if you're having a lot of fish follow, not commit, all right, let's have a feather on the back, see if the feather does it. Let's see if a smaller profile will do it. Let's see if a glide bait will do it. So like when you bed fish, you try a bait, they're not liking it, they're not reacting to it. Now you throw a worm on or whatever. You throw a worm in there and it's like, oh, there's a little bit of interest, but now they're bored. You do something else. So you're like going through your rotations of baits, because you can see the fish's reaction. Like you can tell if they're interested or not. So yeah, and then I had a Senko, and then I think I had like a Texas rig creature bait on to drag, which they were not eating off the bottom at all.
Nothing.
So yeah.
I mean, I saw Dalton throw out some donkeys this past weekend, and I'm like, what's he fishing? Oh, yep, exactly what he said he was fishing with. Yeah. Either a wacky rig Senko or some type of Senko rigged up, and then the Vision 110, which, by the way, are the most expensive jerkbait I have ever seen.
But you don't lose them. You don't lose it. I don't lose my jerkbaits.
I lost like 4 years at the Knucklehead.
Well, you lost them, but I don't lose. So, you lost my jerkbait, but you
can't at $26 a lure.
Yeah. So my line
Vision 110s, not Stennis.
Right. Yeah. Stennis like 15, but my line isn't that. I mean, water isn't super clear here. Now, if I was fishing like super, super clear water, I would go much lighter line, but I'm at like 16-pound fluorocarbon.
Okay. Primarily. That was a question, mono or fluoro. So thanks for answering that.
Yeah, right there. So about 16-pound fluorocarbon, and I never lose fish. I mean, not a lie, huge lie. I never lose them because they break off. That's why I don't lose them. I lose fish all the time.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah.
So interesting. So what's the biggest difference between the $13, $14 Stunna and the $26 Vision 110s?
So for me, from what I found, is the Stunnas have like a slow sink action, and Megabass is more of a holding its level in the water. And I like, thank you. That's what they're called, suspended jerk baits. Thank you.
Yeah. Good for something, folks. Good for something.
And I like that sinking action. I do. Like I like it coming down a little bit and then bringing it back up. But you know, I mean, I'm sure I don't know. Like, I don't really mess with mega bass too much besides like the tiny ones. I haven't really gone for the bigger ones.
Because you're not independently wealthy? Is that why?
Yeah, that's one reason. And I have such a confidence with the stunnas, man. The Berkeley stunnas, I've caught so many fish, and it's just, I mean, thousands. So
I've spent so much of your money on my Berkeley stunnas. I have to agree. I think I walked away with 4 lures. I owe you like $60, and you would never know because you got boxes full of them. It was
yeah. I mean, let me see if you can see over my shoulder. You can't. I went through about 10 stunnas over the last 2 events because the hooks bend over time, and you gotta pay attention to them because I've lost some good fish because the hooks bend. So like you only can get so many fish out of stunnas, and then you got to exchange the hooks out.
Colin B. Basson said, you guys maybe buy some stunnas. Well, I hope they work for you. Don't want you buying lures, but hey, if you listen to what Seth and you are using your forward-facing sonar, I mean, I think that's the money for you. Here's a question. I've heard a lot of talk over the last couple of years about forward-facing sonar, and this is not whether you for it or against it. That's not the question. My question is, I've heard people say like, oh, forward-facing sonar, I don't catch 200. I mean, 1 out of 200 fish I actually see. Now I'm talking to you, and it sounds like you're kind of more on them than 1 out of every 200. How many would you say out of you target? You're like, hey, that's worth a cast. It's not a dink.
That they actually bite, and like how many bite?
Yeah, that you actually catch that thing. Yeah. How many chase? Here's the question: how many chase? How many, commit? And then there's a difference between like how many roaming can you get to commit?
Yeah.
And then so break it down like because I remember having a conversation with you out in the water. You have a high percentage catch rate on a roamer versus
100%.
Oh yeah. Okay. Walk me through all that.
It's a sliding scale based off the fish's size.
Okay. Hit me up.
The smaller the fish, the easier they are to catch. The higher the percentage rate is that they will bite. And as you get larger, as you get above like the 5-pound range, they get considerably harder. And I mean like 1 in 20, but sometimes they'll be more they'll be turned on and they're easier. But a lot of times, man, those bigger fish, and it was that case this weekend. I had, like I said, the winning bag in the first hour. I don't remember how many inches. It was like 89 inches in the first hour, 87 something. No one had more than that the rest of the event. So I spent almost the rest of the event like strictly looking for big fish, and I found good fish like over 5 pounds. Could not get them to commit. Now they're interested. They'll chase, and sometimes they'll just decide to just suck it in and they'll grab the back hook sometimes. But the majority of the larger fish are really difficult to catch. And I don't know if it's just because of age, experience, they've seen a ton of baits over their life. But the smaller ones, I mean, if you get a small fish roaming in open water, like it's like 50% chance they're going to bite. And when I say small, like maybe 12 to 16, 17 inches, there's like 50%
50 chance. If you see one on your forward facing sonar and they're roaming and they're between 12 and 16 inches, you're bringing that thing in the kayak.
Like you cast out there, they will fly out as fast as they can and nail. Like it's the easiest thing in the world with those.
You were insane right now. This is not what I'm hearing from a lot of other people. Okay, now let's take it from 17 inches to let's say 20. So not quite the 5 pounders yet, depending on football or not.
Yeah, the 17, 19 inchers are decent. I mean, it's probably it's such a hard stat, like 1 in 10 or so. Like these are truly guesses.
Food fighters.
Because I'm looking at a ton of fish while I'm out there. So like,
sure,
I would say it's maybe like 1 in 10-ish, for those. Okay. And then 20 and over, the percentages definitely drop. And they'll chase. They'll turn on your bait and they will chase it, and your heart will start pumping. It's like a big buck, like walking underneath a tree stand, or not underneath a tree stand. You see it like coming through the horizon, like through the brush, and it's coming toward your tree stand. Your like heart starts going. You have that exact. It's the exact same feeling when you cast out to like it's like a 6, 7, 8, 10 pounder, and they turn on your bait, and you're like, oh please, Jesus, please just
come on,
come on, because like, and then you feel it like when they do. and you feel it, it's, oh man, there's very few things in life that give you that feeling. It is so good because it's a giant. You saw it on your screen, like it's like a giant.
I can't wait to grab it by the tongue. I mean, bring that
by the tongue. Yeah.
Bring that thing in here.
Right.
I want to make a T-shirt where you grab it by the tongue.
Someone commented and said it kind of makes sense if you think about it. And I was like, what are they talking about? But they were saying like grab it near the tongue, right? That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, not like physically by the tongue, right? Yeah.
You're just so excited in the moment. Real quick, I didn't ask you this question earlier. I want to go back to that. You were saying how I would imagine with 2 million comments. What are some of the troll comments?
Troll comments are they're dead, like the fish was dead. That I caught the fish and gave it to her to put on. The biggest one is like she doesn't even understand what she just caught. Like how is she so lucky? Like, but everybody she does.
North of the basic Dixie line's like,
yeah.
And you sound like a family outing. Your girls are in the back. I need to go to the bathroom, and here she is catching larger than my personal best, larger than many people probably sitting on here their personal best. So that's I mean, tip my hat. But
she's seen me catch big 9-pounders already, so she's around fishing a ton. Like she sees my fish all the time. Excuse me. So she knows like what a big fish is. But yeah, she was excited.
That's so funny. I got a question here from Mr. Sweo. He asked the question, how long do you pause? So many mixed reviews on that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there's not a good answer for it, unfortunately, because the fish are going to kind of tell you what they want to do. And like I said, and we have some comments in here about spotlighting. I love it. It's so funny. Oh man, if you only knew. But when you go out and you see the fish chase, and they'll kind of tell you what they want to do. And if I have multiple fish that are coming after a bait, I almost make my retrieve less erratic because I want them to see the bait good and get a good bite on it. If I'm like whipping it hard, it's hard for it's hard for them to track it, and then you get them in the side of the face or you get them underneath here. And it's much easier for them to get off rather than having a full jerkbait in the mouth. So I will make my retrieves less erratic as the fish are more aggressive. If they're less aggressive, I'll start like more erratic with it and get their attention. They'll swing on it. And as they're chasing, it all depends. Sometimes I'll need to slow it down and then they'll come up right next to it. And after like 3-4 seconds, they'll just grab it. Or they'll come up real close and you jerk it one more time, and that last jerk is enough for them to just go grab it. The other times, you have to increase your rate of speed, and not hard like erratic crazy sometimes, but you have to increase it the closer you get to the boat or the kayak so that they feel like they're actually chasing a real bait. And then a lot of times they'll hit right next to the kayak. It's, the jerk, pause, or jerk, and then one jerk up, and then jerk. Like it's so, the fish are so different. It really doesn't matter. I don't think you can mess it up too much, to be honest with you. One thing I wouldn't do, but I'm not fishing in super cold water right now, like the 30s, 40s, like some people, but it's you. I don't
37 degrees.
Yeah. So, and this is another thing I've learned from watching them on a graph, is that when they get a really good look at it, they're not that interested. So if you let it pause for too long without any movement, for me personally, it's had almost a negative, like one catch out of 100.
Really?
So they'll inspect it and they'll be like, no, thank you, and then leave. So if I let it sit there, they will leave. If they come up to it and start getting close and I make a movement, they'll follow. Make a movement.
They're probably thinking, that's obviously a stunner. I only eat Vision 110's filet mignon. Yeah, don't give me this. Get this flank steak out of my face.
What are these big?
Maybe that's your issue.
Yeah, so that's one thing that a lot of people say you let it pause really long, and maybe they've had success doing it. I have not seen that. I mean, I've pauses for sure. I mean, I'll cast out pause and it'll attract fish out of the grass. And as they're getting closer, when they get within like 3-4 feet, I'll give it another twitch, and then they'll come faster. And then then the race is on. You got to figure it out. But there's not, to answer your question, whoever that was, it's not a perfect like 2-2-1, 2-2-1, anything like that. I mean, you can do that, but there's not like a perfect cadence, at least from my experience.
Okay.
It's a long-winded answer there, Darren.
No, and also take in consideration, you don't fish 30-degree, 40-degree water, right? And so I think it actually starts to matter because fish aren't chasing typically in that cold of water. So you got to entice them. But yeah, all right, this is good. This is why you are the co-host, my friend, because I believe they're going to bite a little bit differently down for you. Obviously, they're larger down where you are. I hate you a little bit.
When you started jerkbait fishing out on Gunnersville, when we were out there for the how many times prior to that? Like, how often did you throw jerkbaits prior to that event?
About once every never.
Really? It wasn't even part of your arsenal?
No, I mean, I own them.
Yeah.
And I would throw them whenever shad were busting, right? It was, in the spring or in the fall, but it's not something, it's definitely not a confidence bait. It's still, I would argue, an unconfidence bait. However, I know when to throw it, and that's when I throw it. Right now, here, I even brought it with me, and so got my setup here.
Oh, look at that!
Want to guess what that is right there?
I would say that's a perch stunner.
It is a perch stunner. Look at you. Let me get this. Do you have these things? Are freaking awesome. You ever?
I've seen those
green rod covers.
Yeah, I don't have those. Those are really nice.
I gotta get you.
You gotta hook me up with your sponsor, Darren.
Yeah, Live Fishing. Check them out. They run awesome deals, anyways. But I have you can get 10% off with code Windle Fishing. Check it out. Anyways, nice. Perch. Here's my setup. Tell me what you think of my setup. This is a Impulse 6.8 medium power 12-pound fluoro on a perch stunner, 112, I believe.
Yeah. That's a lighter rod than you had at Gunnersville, isn't it?
Well, it's because I forgot this rod at home because I wasn't planning on fishing a freaking jerkbait for 18 hours. There was
out there with a heavy punch 7.8.
It was a spinning reel. It was ridiculous.
Oh, that's right. It was a spinning reel. I saw a question in the chat too. Spinning or bait caster. I use bait casters for everything except for like super finessey stuff. So like really light line, like 6 to 8 pound line. I don't do jerk baits with, but like a drop shot, stuff like that, I'll do a spinning reel. Everything else is bait caster, especially mostly being in Florida. Just there's a lot of vegetation, things to get stuck on. So
did you say the length? I said mine is 6'8".
Yeah, mine is 7, and I wouldn't go above 7 too much. Like you probably want a shorter rod with the jerk bait. You don't want something big. If you're going to be out there jerking this thing for 8 hours, you're going to have a tired arm if you got a heavy rod, which
it's insane. Trust me.
Yeah, Jaron was doing like full arm jerks with like his shoulder at the end.
It was, I literally, it hurt for a few days, but man, I never worked so hard fishing than I did.
Yeah. You caught a lot of fish on a jerkbait though, right?
I caught over 100 on a jerkbait. Yeah. And it's one of the first times really you're like, hey, this is what they're at. This is what they're doing. And I was like, fantastic. Seth, you've ruined me and my entire team for life. I got Phil McStory in here. He's like, hey, I'm buying this. I'm buying these. I'm getting the ones with the feathers on the end. So
yeah,
you made it a believer out of us. And we're part of a group chat because our team still stays in touch and we encourage one another. It's a lot of fun. And so Seth is always showing me and like uploading videos, which I'm sure it's going to be in the video that drops tomorrow, but he's actually showing what he's seeing on FFS and what he's seeing in perspective mode. That's typically what you use. So
if you see some of the fish, man, there's like 15 fish in front of me. That was in practice, like 15 bass just swimming. There's a couple beds there. They're just roaming. There's like a 7-pounder on the top. I'm like,
and you know what they weigh, right? You've seen enough and you use the grid boxes to determine how large they are, right?
Yeah. So I have 5-foot grids on my graph. And then if you really want to dial it in, you can crank it down to 28 feet distance in front of you. You have to be within 28 feet of your transducer of the fish. It brings the boxes down to 2-foot increments. Okay. So, you can really see when a fish is swimming across, if it takes up both boxes. Now there's a little bit of an, like glow to them. So it adds a couple extra inches to them. But if they're taking up 2 boxes, like that's a good fish. Like
Game
that's
on.
23, 24.
One out every 30, they're coming in the kayak.
Yeah. Yep. And then I've caught one, the biggest one I saw on a graph that I caught was I think 9 pound 6.
Wow.
And it took up both of them. And I'm like, if this is a bass and I cast out and it turns on the bait, so I'm like, it's not like a carp playing there,
right.
And it turned and I caught that one. I was on FaceTime with my wife. There's a video of that too. That was fun.
Well, it wasn't your wife, so it doesn't matter. It's only going to get like 100 views. But
yeah.
You can superimpose her face.
Put a little emoji on her face in the top. So
now she did a reaction video of that. Then YouTube and Field and Stream would send it to the moon.
Yeah, just the reaction video, not the actual fish, but the reaction video.
Yeah, 100%. I'm telling you. All right, got some questions for you here.
Let's hear them.
And by the way, if you have not done yet, please hit that like button for this live. And also, if you haven't followed Seth, you're up to 81. You're at 70 when we started.
Yeah.
81 subscribes.
Yeah. Great job.
You gotta get him to 100, folks. Get him to 100 because he is now 3 videos in, soon to be 4, and the man is gonna be on a roll. Oh, you gotta have 5 because you're doing the live right now, simulcasting.
Yeah. The previous 3 videos are 8 years ago, so.
Yeah, if you want to learn about huge Florida gator or bass fishing with drone, I mean, he's ranking. I think he's got 222 views 8 years ago. Bro, you were slaying.
You like that? That's a half a view a month or something, right?
Half a view a month.
Yep.
Hey, I remember when I had 81 subscribers, and I don't think it's less. It was more than you have less videos than I did. It took me a lot longer to get there. All right. What is alive is over here. I got all kinds of questions.
All right. Let's hear them.
I had a bunch of questions today. All right, here we go. I got to look through these and see which ones. You already answered that one. Do you ever use a floating jerkbait?
No. I don't. I'm sure there's a time for that, but no.
Doesn't even. No, you're like
if I stop the jerkbait and it floats to the surface, I haven't done it, but I can only imagine the fish would be like, "What is that?" and just swim off. That's just my personal opinion. So yeah.
But you haven't personally like fished them.
No.
All
They
right.
might be the juice that I'm missing, but like from what I'm seeing, I feel like the bait not suspending, not sinking, but just floating straight up. Probably won't have.
I mean, they do like a little wobble thing when they go up. You don't think that would be
maybe
doing the dance?
Yeah, it could be the juice. You guys let me know if that's the juice there.
you guys let me know. I'm never doing it, but if you guys tell me, oh my gosh, so good. Here's another question. Have you ever won a tournament where you haven't primarily fished the jerkbait?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. So jerkbait is like, I don't even know. I only fish jerkbaits if that's what the practice is showing me. Like if I go out and I see they're offshore and I can throw a jerkbait and catch bigger fish than the people that are shallow or the fish that I was catching shallow, I'm going to go out and fish for big ones. I'm not going to throw a Senko around or flip things for 12, 14 inches like the males that just pulled up. But I've won sight fishing tournaments. I've thrown Senkos and won tournaments. I've flipped like a Missile Baits Baby Destroyer, which is one of my favorite like Texas rig baits. Yeah, so jerkbait is just go ahead.
Also, my favorite name of a lure, the Baby Destroyer.
The Baby Destroyer.
That's amazing.
And then I have a Baby Boss glide bait.
Ooh.
Baby
I
Boss.
love the names. I really just love the names of all these lures that come out, especially companies that really lean in to giving their baits some very different, just different.
Missile baits is like bombs, right? Like they got
missile, the cruise. Yeah. It's kind of fun. All right, I got a couple questions for you, Seth. Have you tried the Kretsch from? I think Berkeley makes that, right?
It's funny because I got 2 sitting back there, and then they've never been used.
Are they like sitting right there for people who may not have ever seen the Kretsch? Grab that real quick.
All right. This is how much they've been used. They're stuck with a Whopper Plopper or whatever this thing is. Let me pull one up.
All right, walk us for those listening in. You got to walk people through the visual of it.
Oh yeah. So there's people listening. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
this thing goes 1,000 or 2.
Just picture, just picture in your head the bill of a jerkbait. Oh, where's the camera at? There's the
There you
camera.
go.
I don't need to do this because my mind doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't focus anyway. So picture the bill of a jerkbait and then flip it upside down. And then that is what the cred
And then
is.
imagine the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's
It's
it.
supposed to drift back and things and stuff. Honestly, I probably should try it out, but I've been too busy catching fish. So yeah, haven't really used it. That's the cred.
Throw that mother on. I want to know how the fish respond.
I also watched a YouTube video of the elite guys this past year. They were saying like the most overrated bait of the 2024 season, and this was number 1 on the list. So it really like turned me away from even wasting my time on it. But maybe they were like a competitive brand or something. Who knows?
Interesting.
But yeah, that's the cridge.
All right.
What else we got?
Justin Kahn wants to know, what is Seth's YouTube handle? So you can find him at Seth Taylor Fishing. I'm going to refresh it, see how many subs he has now. Not a single one more than it was when I said it 5 minutes ago. Come on, Justin. Help him out. Help him out. All right. Sly Fox Fishing says, I've used floating jerk baits and I've only caught catfish. He said it earlier. He's like, I've caught maybe 10 catfish on jerk bait and 1 bass.
Yeah, catfish love jerk baits. So do pickerel and so do gar. So if you have gar, man, they'll end your bait too. Like that'll be the last time you throw it.
I like it. All right, see what else we have here. I came up with literally 30 questions today. Let me see.
You did yourself?
Oh yeah, you've answered this one. You've answered you go to retrieve. How important to you is rod action when fishing a jerkbait and power? You were telling me that essentially your lure was almost as expensive of your rod and reel setup this past weekend.
That's right. So I guess I'm a little bit different, I would say, than most folks. Like I have some nice stuff. I have nice rods, nice reels. But I also go and I get, so it's called the Abu Garcia Jordan Lee baitcaster combo. It has like a yellow reel and stuff.
Okay.
And I don't know how much they are right now, but they were $60 for the combo on Amazon. And I have used those for years. $60 for the rod and the reel total. So it's $30 a pop, right? And it's like, they're like 7 foot, medium heavy, fast action. I think it's like a 6-4-1 reel, I believe. And dude, those things, like, this is my personal opinion. If I'm going to go bed fish a big fish, I'm going to have like my best rod, my best reel, and I'm going to make sure it's a little bit heavier. I can work this 8, 9, 10 pounder. But when I'm out there, I caught a 9.6 or whatever it was on this rod that cost $60. I won this event this past weekend on these rods and reels that cost $60 total. And I won Ocalapalooza on the team, got 3rd overall with essentially the same rods. Like on average, you're catching like 2 to 3 to 4 pounders, right? Like and I'm cranking them in, working them around the kayak, grabbing it. So like, you don't have to have like a super expensive rod and reel to like be productive and do really well. Like there's certain things like punch in or throwing top water or certain times and elements that you need certain size rods, more expensive rods, things like that. But for what I do, man, I'm pretty basic with what I do. And, I think the presentation to the fish and working fish and more importantly, practice, like being on the water, practicing with these baits and practice before an event, if you're tournament fishing, are the most important things. Like if you're around the fish, you're going to catch more fish. It doesn't matter how good your rod and reel, baits, whatever. If you're not around fish, like you're just having fun, right? You're just casting and retrieving, chucking and winding. I don't know if I answered.
No, you did. This is great. Stephane Harvey had the question. What's the name of that combo rod again?
Yeah, it's the Jordan Lee combo, Colin B. Bass, and it's by Abu Garcia. They're yellow. It's like a yellow handle. It's like grayish black. I know Amazon has them. I'm sure you can find it other places. I know they range in price from like $60 to $80 for the entire combo. So we have like 10 of them. That's what my wife uses. That's what I use, especially with traveling around. I'm camping. I'm fishing events here, there. We're going to the lake that butts up to my house right here with the kids. Like, they just get beat up. And if you break some eyes or whatever, it's not a huge deal. You're not losing a $200-$300 rod.
Yeah, I don't even want to send you the Live Fishing neoprene rod holders because they'll be more expensive than your combo. Just kidding. Yep. Hey man, I love this. I really do, because a lot of times anglers get caught up in the latest and greatest, and this 7.2 is not going to do it. The 7.3 is going to do it, and it's the latest and the lightest and the whatever it is that they're selling. And my goodness, it doesn't have to be that. It can be just a jerkbait, a $60 combo, and a Sun Dolphin Aruba 10, and you can have sometimes more fun than the person out there in it for $150K on a bass boat.
I was thinking about this earlier today. Well, actually, when I was making my other video, because I think I said in there that I used a $60 rod to win this event. And what I realized is that there's certain things that you purchase that dramatically increase your ability to catch fish and perform. What is that noise? I don't know. Something's going off back there. Do you hear that?
No.
Well, my wife has the Roomba sweeper thing going. That's what it is. It's outside my door. I'm like, what is that noise? She was laying in bed. She started our vacuum.
That's funny.
Robot. But there's certain things that you can purchase that'll increase your ability to catch fish and perform in events. And then there's other things that might move the needle a little bit. And I think that's like a whole episode. But like some of the things for me was upgrading my kayak to like a good kayak. Darren, easy. You're about to say.
Well, I didn't ask the question. There's some questions in the comment section that we will get to in just a moment. Keep going. Upgrading your kayak.
So like I went to a Hobie where I can flip the fish into up over the gunnel into the kayak, and they can flop around if they need to, whatever, and get stuck in your foot and your hand, all that good stuff. But that was a big deal for me because I don't have to worry about fish flopping out. I can perform better on the water. That was a big deal. And then another one, I don't know if you can hear that.
I can hear it now.
Yeah, a trolling motor with like spot lock, or I guess it's called pinpoint for what I have. That was a huge deal for me, especially in the wind, having 20-mile-an-hour winds. This past few events, just being able to stay in one spot, make accurate casts, that was a big deal. The Garmin, the live scope, that was, the knowledge I have from watching fish on there, even if you took it away from me, is knowledge that if you've never had it, you'll never know, essentially. So there's some things that you can dramatically increase. Rods, certain situations you need the good ones, but otherwise, if you have the fish on, just got to work them, I guess. Yeah.
All right. I like it. Michael Bradley said, hey, budget gear today is miles ahead of what it was available years ago. And 100%. But the budget today was the top of the line years ago. I got all kinds of questions.
I got to turn
the room. Got to turn the Roomba off.
Yeah, it's a shark. That's what it is.
Shark. Jack McRoberts is in the comment section. My favorite sponsor. Man, his sponsor is so good to him.
Oh my gosh.
He sent me a photo.
I saw that the other day.
I asked for an introduction to a sponsor. All I got is Laughy Face back. It's himself, by the way.
Hey, Darren, hold on 1 second. I got to push the button because this thing is not working.
It's all right. I'm going to go over here and head over to some of these questions. Oh, I got the next question for us. If you haven't done it yet, please help us out. Hit that like button. We got 61 live right now. Let's go see what Seth has. Seth has 83. You jumped up 2, brother, in the last 5 minutes. You're up to 83 subs. All right. Trying to send you to 100. I will settle for 90. I will settle. We'll increase it by percentages tonight. This will be great. All right. Question I have over here from Colin B. Basson. He asks, where'd that question go? Oh, crap. I need to go back to it now. I think he said something to the degree of, are you planning on something to do with your kayak?
Oh, ever changing brands?
Yeah, you're going to change. Seth, have you ever thought about switching kayak brands?
So I love my kayak. I'm sure. I think
holes and all.
Yeah, so I put a hole in it. Yeah.
You didn't put a hole in it. It cracked.
Yeah, that's true. It cracked. Yep. but I'm getting a brand new one, I think. So
well, hold up. You think? I thought that for sure that was happening. So walk us through.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a Hobie hater, folks, but it did crack. Is that a normal place for typically?
That's a normal place. Yeah.
All right, walk me through it. What year is it and all this stuff? I'm curious.
That one is, what year is it now? 25. So it's either 23 or 24.
Oh, so this is recent. So,
yeah, we had it a year.
All you showed me was it was flexing and it was an L-shaped crack, but I couldn't tell where it was.
So I was on the Hobie team, dealer staff team last year. So I work with the dealer. You know, they help me get a kayak. I kind of represent them. They help me out in different ways. But not only that, Hobie has a 3-year warranty on their kayaks. So it's within that warranty period. I'm just waiting on like the final verdict. Essentially, everything's been sent in. It's within warranty period, all that good stuff. So should be getting it ready.
So you gotta like break out the chainsaw, cut that thing in like 3 pieces. Have your wife do it. And
I'm gonna keep that bad boy. I put marine weld there. So if
they make you do so you can't continue to do warranties, or your buddies can't. They make you cut it up and make you send you proof of it.
Well, I guess I'll be cutting her up, make a video.
I'm doing it. You, your wife, and the girls all take saws of that thing, and I tell you, Field and Stream, and everybody's going to pick it up. Watch out, internet.
Just pick it up.
Watch out. I didn't say it. Colin B. Basson did, and I have to say it. Break the Hobie and get the P127. Laugh out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I like my Hobie.
Yeah,
I like picking up a new yak. What does it say?
Well, it's got to stay tuned because the whole process of getting warrantied out, right? I'm curious on how long it's going. I'm curious how long it's going to take to get that. Right now, you're not like stuck in the water. Where's the crack at?
It's right where the seat leg meets the kayak. So it
makes sense because when you drop into it, it's preventing a lot of. I mean, my Native Slayer Propel 10 did that back in my 2018, and so I had to do a repair on it. Good times, by the way, doing a repair there. But got a video on it. If ever happens to you, hopefully it doesn't happen out of warranty.
I had a ton of water in my kayak in the Ocala the first day of the event, and I leaned over to the side. I didn't know it was in there, really. I mean, I was going slower for some reason, but I leaned over and the whole kayak like rocked. And I was like, phew. I've only ever felt this once before, and it was when I had like a 30-gallon cooler in the back, and I was putting fish in it to stock the lake behind our house.
Okay.
And I didn't have the plug in, the plug in the back. And this is in a different kayak. And I sank that bad boy. So I'm like, oh man, I was getting scared. And I couldn't find the hole. I didn't find the hole till after the event. And it was because it was on the deck. I thought it was going to be up underneath somewhere. I didn't even look underneath, my seat there. So yeah.
I mean, you had water on your platform?
So the reason I get water on my platform is when I lean, because I got a lot of weight on there. I got like a 120 amp battery. I got a 60 amp battery. When I lean forward for the trolling motor, I don't have a mechanism set up yet where I just pull a line. I have to pull the actual trolling motor. So when I lean forward, water comes up through where the pedal drive is. Right. Because I leave my pedal drive in. And it goes on my platform, and then it all comes back off. But what was happening, it was going on my platform and all running into the hole that was there. So yeah, that's how that happened.
All right. We're gonna stay tuned, and from the moment you turn that warranty in to the moment you get it,
and it might be different for me too, because I'm working with a dealer. Like I guess everyone works with a dealer, but I'm directly associated with them. So I don't know. Maybe my timeline might be faster. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out.
Well, this would be best case scenario then, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. We have some more questions over here. I have more questions, to be honest with you. All right. We talked about that one. We talked to the rod. What are some common mistakes anglers make when working a jerkbait?
How do you
like when you take someone out and you're like, hey, try the jerkbait. They've never fished it before. What do you notice that they're doing that you're like, hey, and you would coach them if you were like guiding them?
Yeah, don't reel it in like a crankbait, but sometimes that works, which is crazy. What would they, what were common mistakes? Let me think about this for a second, because it's hard to mess up a jerkbait too much. I mean, there's no perfect way to work it. So, it's different retrieves work at different times. And I don't know if there's a certain time that it's better other than really cold water, like you were talking about, Darren. I would say if you're down in Florida and you're letting it sit too long, I think that's a mistake. If you're down in the South and the water's warm, I think the fish are going to come up and inspect it, and they're just going to look at it and be like, no thanks, and move away. Probably if you're in cold water, working it too fast, I would imagine, which is up by you. But
no, I think it's good because
the proper depth, you need to get the proper depth too. If you're in 15 feet of water and you're throwing a jerkbait that only goes top 4 or 5 feet and the fish are down towards the bottom, like you're not, I mean, these are common sense things, but you're not going to get their attention unless it's crystal clear water. So those are a couple things.
So this is interesting. Yeah, I think this is great because there's a lot of information out on the internet. I'm one of the individuals that puts it out there. Seth is dropping his 4th video tomorrow if you're just chiming in halfway through this. And you might hear from me, hey, for fishing in March, which I just did a video on this, some people will swear by letting that thing sit still for 15 to 25, 30 seconds. I'm not that long. It'll drive myself crazy. I'll freeze to death before I got to keep moving. But I don't work it super, super fast. But if you're in Florida and you're new to fishing and you find my video, right now, granted, I try now to share with individuals, hey, this is the water temperature, right? Yeah. So not just lures you fish in March, and you have to take the water temperature into consideration here. But not everybody does that. And so I can easily see why people would be like, oh, I'm letting this thing, you live down in Florida, you're 15 years old, you're getting into fishing, your grandpa just gave you a bunch of jerk baits. Keep that thing moving, because if they get their eyes on it and it's a big one, they're likely not going to commit. So it's interesting. Very interesting. All right, here's a question for you. And you kind of mentioned something earlier that you bend out the hooks. Do you do anything out of the package? Do you tweak them? Is there any tuning involved? Do you change out hooks? If you're independently wealthy, would you change out hooks to a certain specific hook?
Yeah. If I were like you, Darren, and had the YouTube money that you have, I would probably.
I'm not going to live that one down.
No, yeah, right. All my YouTube money you're showing us. Dang, boy. How do I say this? If I'm going to fish in the elites, I'd probably switch out my hooks. Yeah, not probably. I would. Because I've had times, and it doesn't happen often, but if you get, how many times do you have a 7-pounder on and above, Darren?
Once in my lifetime, actually. That's my personal best.
If you get it on, you don't want to lose it, right?
Thanks for reminding me, by the way. I hate you. Thank you. You just embarrassed me in front of everyone. Your wife's catching 9.5-pounders. Darren catches 7. I get it. Ha ha ha.
So if you get a bigger fish on, and this is kind of circumstantial, but with jerkbait fishing, this will happen more often than not. And they get the very back hook, and I'm talking the very back one, the one in the, I don't know if you can see, one in the very back. On the stock hooks that come on the Stunna 112s, there is a chance that they might bend that hook out and you won't get that fish. Now, if they have 2, you're probably fine. Now, I don't mean 2 trebles. I mean like 2 individual hooks. But if you just get them one, it's happened to me a couple times on big fish that they bend out that hook and I lose them. So that sucks. But typically you don't hook
unacceptable.
Them. Right. It's unacceptable. So the circumstance is it has to be a big fish, probably like at least 6 pounds or above. And it has to get just one hook in the very back. They'll bend those out. Not all the time, sometimes. And what I moved to is I don't even know these by heart, so I had to write it down to make sure. It's the Owner Hooks Short Shank ST35.
Okay.
So that's what I put on. Like I have 8 to 10 jerk baits I got to put new hooks on. That's what I moved to. So right now I use the stock ones because I'm not catching 7-pounders every cast. And as they start bending out, and this is the one I had in my hand, by the way. You see how those hooks are cut off?
That's right.
That bend right there is because that sucker was in my hand. But as they bend and as they break, you catch a catfish, a gar, or they're just hard to get off the fish because you'll bend them with your pliers. You exchange the hooks out. Once you start bending them, they're easier to bend, and you're going to start losing fish. So the Owner Short Shank ST35.
How much?
ST stands for Seth Taylor 35. By the way.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, is that a partnership between you and Owner?
Yeah. That's the signature series. Just kidding. I actually don't know how much they are. They might be like $10 for. They're not that expensive.
Okay.
It's not that expensive, yeah. I don't even
Yeah,
know.
Phil McStory said those stunner hooks will break.
Yes,
However,
they will.
Michael Bradley says Vision 110 hooks are sticky sharp. However, how do
That's right.
those hold up? Do you have any issue with those? You shouldn't with a $26 lure, in my opinion, but
Yeah, so those bend too. Those bend as well. So you got to put new hooks on those. But I don't use those as much as the Stunnas. So yeah, this is the 110. This is the junior though. But I mean, that one, this specific hook right here was in my hand and bent. So that's a weak hook. But yeah, these jerkbait hooks they're sticky. Like if you touch them, they'll stick in your skin, right?
sure.
And that's what you want. But with that comes a more fragile hook, just like they said. So
Okay.
exchange those hooks out after a while.
Or right off the bat, if you're tournament fishing for big money,
Yeah, you
right?
do that. The X wraps, the Rapala X wraps, they
Yeah.
have a meteor hook to them. I know you guys probably literally cannot
We
see
can see it.
anything.
It's
But
a,
these
it's
are
a,
meteor.
it's a fatter gauge.
Yeah, these are a higher gauge. They will not bend like the Stunnas and the Megabass ones.
Okay. I think you mentioned this early on, but we're later in the show. What is the lightest and heaviest line you'll throw? And
Yeah.
when do you make those adjustments?
So, so it's water clarity where I'm at, vegetation, I mean, the basic stuff. So the heaviest line I'll throw will be 20-pound chlorophyll.
Dang.
What?
Chlorophyll? More like borophyll.
Yeah, right. I love that. 20-pound fluorocarbon will be the heaviest. There's just no need for me to go any higher than that.
Dude, that is massive. I use that for my swim jigs.
Yeah, like that's big. That's 7, 8, 9, 10 pounders. You can work them. They'll still pull drag. But the lightest I'll go in Florida here, and probably in general, because I'm using bait casters, and the drag is, and again, I'm talking about a $60 rod and reel combo, so you got to keep that in mind too. Might be a little sticky on the drag over time, but probably 12. I won't go below 12.
Okay.
If it's crystal clear, we're talking about like a glacier type lake, crystal clear water, I'll go below that, but I haven't fished many of those lately. So, but that's for like jerkbait fishing. If I'm, flipping braid or, punch in, you're talking 50-pound braid, like you said there.
Yeah.
If I'm flipping creature baits in grass, stuff like that, Texas rig, 20-pound, so I can work it out. I'll go a little bit lighter in open water.
Okay. What is your opinion on jerkbaits with rattles versus silent? Do you throw one over the other?
Yeah, I don't think there's a good silent jerkbait out there that you can really cast and maneuver good.
Okay.
Like the ones that have weights in it. I think actually Mikey Balls just talked about this the other day on a podcast. I saw a clip of it. I think he clipped it, put it on his page.
Okay.
He's like, dude, if there was a jerkbait with no rattles that maneuvered like a jerkbait with rattles, it would be lights out. Because you want that non-rattle sometimes. Like it scares some fish, but
there's got to be a company that's like, hey, they're making that.
They don't like the weight distribution doesn't perform the same. So
there's got to be a way though to create something silent.
The Wendell jerkbait.
Come on. I mean, there's the Seth Taylor hooks and the Wendell jerkbait. I mean, watch out, bass fishing world. No one will be talking about forward-facing sonar anymore. They'll be talking about the collab between your 84. I'm going to refresh it. And 85, folks, 85. You haven't subbed to Seth Taylor Fishing.
You get that silver plaque at 100, or when do you get that?
Yeah, 100K. We'll get the silver play button.
No, I thought it was 100 subscribers, not 100.
Oh, you get. I'll make you one. I'll make you one out of paper.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my gosh! If you guys have a question for Seth, let me know.
10K sweaty, which we remember the story behind that, but he said the action is created by the bearings inside, which makes complete sense. Without that, maybe they can make. Can
you make it to where it's not like it doesn't rattle and it thumps?
Muffled bearings, yeah,
maybe. muffled bearings. I have no clue what I'm talking about, but pretty sure if we doing the things we're doing in this country, we can figure this out. Justin Kahn, would those owner ST35 hooks be okay on the Vision 110s or 110 juniors?
Probably not. Definitely not on the juniors. The Vision 110s, probably it might have a little sink action to them, a little bit, but they're essentially the same weight as the ones on the Stunnas. So
Okay.
like I think they're almost identical in weight. I did some research to try to figure that out.
Look at you coming prepared.
Might need to Google that. Whoever asked that question.
This is funny. I was like, Seth, we're going to talk about. This is a couple days ago. I was like, bro, we're to theme the show. What do you want to be? I was like, dude, you slay at jerkbaits. He's like, man, you better come up with some more questions because I don't think I can talk very long about it. And here we are, an hour and 16 minutes in, and I haven't even gotten through all of my questions here.
I just feel like jerkbait fishing's easy. Like, go get a Stunna 112 plus one. Go get a Stunna 112.
Yeah, go buy a Garmin for $4,000 and you're good to go.
You're done. You catch
done.
fish.
Go grab a Hobie with a crack in it. Seth will sell you his real cheap here in about a month.
You can tell where my money went. I have a Garmin that's like $4,000 or $5,000, and I have a $60
combo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to make it.
And winning, folks. He is winning. Winning. Is there any discontinued jerkbaits that you would like to, that you wish would make a comeback?
No. As long as Stunna doesn't go anywhere or Megabass doesn't go anywhere, we'll be all right. I don't know the history of jerkbaits, so someone might have to inform me.
There you go. I like it.
But speaking of history, did I ever show you this book I have, Darren?
What are you showing me here? I'm afraid.
Do you like historical stuff, or you
no, I don't like reading, so I already know I'm not gonna like this book. So what are you dropping on me here?
One of the oldest books on bass fishing on the planet Earth.
Okay, what's it called?
It is called The Book of Black Bass by Dr. J.A. Henshaw. Do you want to guess the year?
1962.
Oh.
1954.
I can't see this. 1881.
What?
Yeah,
that is
amazing.
Awesome. So have you read any of it?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I mean, look, this is for people that are looking.
That mustache would catch a Malone right there.
1881. They have baits in here for bass fishing. It cost me some money to get this book. I probably got it like 3-4 years ago, but I love it. It's one of the first. I think it might be the first. It's called The Book of Black Bass. One of the first bass fishing books.
If I was a bass and I saw that mustache, I'd just hop in your boat just to get a photo with it. That is amazing.
It's right. Cool. Anyway,
I actually that'd be fairly interesting to read. I might actually read that, and I don't read anything else. It looks like it's in your like Bible case right now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I love that your Bible's like, nope. I gotta protect this one. There's a lot of Bibles out there, but this book right here is rare.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a question we haven't talked about at all. Do you believe a certain color pattern like ghost or chrome or chartreuse or outperforms others consistently? And here's the thing. When I was on Amazon and I was doing a video, how to outfish your friends with these 8 in March with these 8 bass fishing lures. When I was on the Amazon page for the Stunnas, there was like 40 different colors. It was insanity. I don't think I've ever seen that much of a color offering in a long time. So which ones get your money?
I thought about this today. I thought this is going to be a good video topic to test out. Just go get like the orange ones, the red ones, just like a bunch of different, get like 10 different ones. Yeah. And then see how the fish react to them. I think that'd be a cool video. So to answer your question, I primarily like to use ones that are like semi-translucent.
Okay. So
like the Stealth Shad is the one that I really like for the Stunnas, and that's what Tyler Rivette used to win on Okeechobee in the canals a few years ago. And I don't know if there's any merit to this, but the ones that are like a solid color, they might be able to get a better look at and kind of tell it's fake. I don't know. The ones that are translucent, it's more of a shadowy figure. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not.
A ghostly figure?
Yeah, a little ghost.
Yeah, this is gonna make for a great video. Hey guys, the shadowy ghostly figure. I'll watch that.
So I like natural color to the bait fish, right? Like kind of match the hatch type deal. Little translucent, that the X wrap that if you can see on here has a little glimmer to it. It's like a green color. The other, the 110 Junior is kind of translucent, almost kind of looks like a golden.
That's
shine.
money. That's what they all look like up here.
Yeah. This is the stealth shad. It's hard to see because of the light, but it has a little yellow in it, but it's mostly like a brownish tan. We have a lot of golden shiners in the South here in Florida, so it's a lot of that. But I also threw a red one this past summer, caught a couple 7-pounders, had a red feather on it, had a red belly. So I don't know that it matters too much, to be honest, because the fish are going to be chasing this bait. And, like if they're behind it, this is what they're looking at. If you're looking at the camera, it's the rear end of the bait. So,
but they're flapping back and forth.
Yeah, they're going side to side. So they're getting some glimmer of the side, but I think if you just try to match the bait fish color, I think that's probably the best bet.
Dude, I'm telling you, anytime I see a lure that when I turn it sideways, if it flashes my eyes, I'm usually buying it. I can't help myself. Yeah, that's the catch the fisherman in me. For some reason, I just imagine that on a sunny day, and it's going to attract the attention of that bass that's 10 feet away that it would never have caught the attention of because it flashed it, right? And so I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I look down, I see when fish flash me, when bait fish flash me. And so I imagine that's the same triggering mechanism that gets that bass to get interested and come up and get a second look. So I don't know. In the logical world of Darren's brain, I'm telling you, if there's something that flickers, if inside of it has like a hologram, I lose my ever-loving mind. I have to have
hologram gets you. And
hologram gets it.
The lateral line system in bass is pretty interesting. There's some other books. I'm not going to grab them right now because I don't have them with me, but there's some other books that kind of teach you on the lateral line system. I went to school to be a biologist, so I graduated with a bachelor's in wildlife and fisheries biology. I don't utilize it at all, but that's what I went to college for. But the lateral line system, and just this weekend, I had some experiences with this where it typically happens with smaller bass or hungrier bass. I know that they cannot see the bait. I know for a fact they cannot see the bait, but they feel it, the vibration or something, and they just fly out of some grass and get close enough, and then they grab it. But I know that they cannot see it because they're like, it's pretty dirty water, and they're probably 12, 14 feet away, and they'll just shoot out and come towards the vibration. So that lateral line system, I think, is pretty big for some of those fish as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense to me. All right, let's play a little game. I haven't done this in a while. So I was like, hey, let's play a little bit of underrated, overrated. I haven't done that. I don't think I've done this while you were on the show. I used to do it a lot. And sometimes when I have a little extra time putting together the show notes for the KFO show, I will put together a few overrated, underrated. And this is where I love to get like everybody who's listening in. We got 60 live right now. Thank you so much. Please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, would love and be honored by it. Seth, you are at Refresh into Praise 87.
Yep.
You're at 70.
Fishing on YouTube. Let's get
there
me above game.
We're trying to give you to 90. We need three more, y'all. Who wants to follow Seth and his jerkbait fishing prowess? All right. Underrated, overrated. Work-life balance. Hear that a lot.
Underrated. I love my family so much, and my girls, my kids. I left. You'll see it in my next video, not the one coming out tomorrow, the next day, but the following one. I talk about it on my drive home. Like, thank God that I won the event, that I went, because I missed my two older. I have 3 daughters. They're 8, 6, and 4, and the older 2 had soccer games. So, like, I feel selfish going and doing things like this, fishing and events, because it's so fun for me. But not only is it fun, like, if I'm going to go do this, I got to go make money for my family. I got to go grab 1,000 or 2 or 3, depending on the size of the event, bring it home, and the wife's happy, the kids are fine, and so to answer your question, I definitely need a work-life balance or fish life balance with my wife and kids. I love those guys.
I love it. I was just having my conversation with my wife today about, hey, one of the reasons that I want to go full-time is because right now I go to work 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 8:30, like it was last night. And then I got I got a show tonight, and then I got to edit this video. They don't edit themselves. They don't shoot themselves. I mean, it takes an incredible amount of work. It's like, I want to be a more present dad, get all that work in
Absolutely.
and all the content creation, editing in while they're at school. And so when they're out of school, hey, dad's here, ready to have some fun.
Yeah.
So,
and if I didn't have kids and a wife, and like, I love them more than anything in the world, like I would drop everything for them, but I would just fish all the time. Like I would stay by the lake and fish and do all that. I don't think it would be a better life. It'd be a worse life, but it's like spending time with them is so important for me that it takes away from, learning, fishing, things like that. But I invest in my children and my wife. And at the end of the day, at the end of my lifetime, I think that's going to be much more important than catching bass. Although I love catching bass too. So leave it at
love
that.
it. Great fun hobby. Maybe someday. You didn't talk about this. You got angler aspirations.
Yeah. So my goal, a big, audacious, hairy goal.
Yeah, BHAG. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hairy, audacious goal. Yeah.
Is to fish in the Elite Series. So used to have a boat, have a bass cat, all that good stuff. Sold it when I moved here, like I said. So in the next few years, I'm trying to hone my skills as best as I can in a kayak and dial it in on scoping and all that good stuff so that I can fish the opens. I already have a buddy that fishes the opens, so I have a little in there and kind of some knowledge as to what he's learning over the last few years, and fish the opens and qualify for the elites. That's the goal.
All right. Do I look forward to just, man, I want to see you. I want you to have that so bad. That'll be awesome. All right. Overrated, underrated, OSP jerkbaits.
OSP jerkbaits?
Yeah. You know anything about this? Yeah.
No.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen here. I was looking at it. The reason I came across this is like, what is the most expensive like jerkbait out there?
Talking to the wrong guy here.
Yeah, I know, right? And I heard this when I did a poll this past week. I was like, hey, what's the best crankbait out there? And YouTube only gives me 4 options to poll. So I usually pick a smattering of them. And I kept on getting in the comments, OSP. I was like, well, what's OSP? So here's what it is. OSP is and I'm reading this straight from Tackle Warehouse, is a Japanese lure company that stands for Osprey Spiritual Performer. Okay.
Gotta be good.
These lures were designed by a professional Japanese lure maker and tournament angler, Toshinari Namiki. After much success in Japan, these lures were introduced to the U.S. fishing market in 2006. OSP pledges to not release any products to the public until they have been thoroughly tested and have proven to outperform expectations. OSP has been rated as Japan's #1 lure designer multiple times for its ability to go beyond the standards of conventional lure designs and produce products that deliver the highest performance to anglers. So let me go and share my screen here. Let me show you.
I can ask what's special about them.
I don't know. Let's find out. Let's see how special they are. All right. So let's take a look.
OSP.
All right. This is interesting.
The rubber dice.
Rubber dice. You got the OSP spin nuts soft stick bait. That's interesting name. Looks like a it's like a poop bait. Essentially.
A doo-doo bait. Yep.
Yeah. You got the fuzzy dice, the Sakura dice rubber non-salt. $20. Yeah, this is up there. Hard baits. Now here we go. $27 for the OSP Asura 89 SF EXDR jerkbait. I mean,
that's like a 27-foot depth jerkbait there. Holy smokes.
All right, here's one that kind of looks not quite like the Stunna, but this bill is pretty tight. But OSP Asura 292.5 suspending jerkbait. That's a $28 lure. I mean, they look good. Here we go. OSP Rudra 130. Suspending jerkbait, $30 for that girl. Varuna 110, $24.99 for this girl. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Click one. See what they say.
Let's go to the 110.
See if they have any giveaways as to why they're so amazing.
Low stock. There's only 5 left. Someone's buying them. You got the bloody shad, the Wagasaki. Oh, look, I'm done. I'm already buying it. It's got a hologram.
Wakasagi.
Ghost Pearl, Ghost Minnow. This
Scroll
is a
down.
golden shiner.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Overview.
Uh,
Carefully designed, blah, 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 blah. Marketing, honeycomb hexagon ribbing that reduces the wall thickness by 40%, which centralizes the center of gravity and creates a responsive swimming action.
Physics.
You asked why. And
Yeah.
3 small internal tungsten weights also slide to the tail during the cast for long, accurate casts and slide forward, just like every jerkbait ever made. All right.
Yeah, I'm okay on that. But it says not just an early spring lure. I don't think we talked about time of year with jerkbaits. You can catch fish any time of year on a jerkbait, unless you're in the north and the lake's frozen over, all that good stuff. I absolutely hammer them here in South Florida in the middle of summer, water temperatures 90 degrees, catching giants on a jerkbait. It's not just a fall or a spring bait. Dude, you can catch them all year long on jerkbaits.
All right, it's official. It's my unconfidence lure. I need to find the confidence that you have in it, and so we can share stories. But yeah, this one apparently says the Varuna 110 jerkbait will make all of your other jerkbaits obsolete.
Whew, that's a strong statement.
That is a pretty strong statement for $25. Some of them are pushing $30, depending. But
I wonder if any of
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't really seen those play in the elites. I don't think, unless the Japanese anglers are using those. But yeah.
Let me see here. Got all kinds of comments over here.
Tariffs.
Tariffs. Dang tariffs. Trevor Wagner's like, I'll stick with the Vision 110s and 110 Juniors. I like it. I mean, technically they're around the same price. All right, fascinating. Didn't know if you had a thought on it. So, well, now that you know about it, underrated, overrated.
Overrated.
Overrated. Are you turned off by the marketing jargon?
Yeah, I don't need that. That's the thing about lures. And I was talking to Natty about this. Is that
Natty's your wife, right?
Yeah, Natty's my wife. Yeah, that's probably important. Some random lady.
Not a random beer can. Just
like it's more of once you find a bait that, how do I want to say this? I probably said it more eloquently to her, but you don't need a ton of different baits. You need a bait that is effective for the method that you're fishing. So like if you're jerkbait fishing, just get a stun of 112 plus 1 for deep, a 112 for regular. Get a wacky rig Senko or whatever bait that you like, wacky rig. Get a creature bait, Texas, for Texas rigging that you can flip, pitch. If you do jig fishing, get a jig that you like. Like you don't, in my opinion, you don't need a ton of different variations of the same thing, because to me, it's more about how you present it to them and what the fish are doing, rather than if it has like a chartreuse little tail on it.
I'm telling you, I've talked to people, I've had them on the show here. They're like, the deck of my boat after I get done fishing is insane because they go through colors. They're a color-based angler. I believe that's what changes it up.
Yeah.
So you're saying, no, not my experience.
No, I mean, like, not for me. It can be color-based if you're jerkbait fishing and they're not, like, they're kind of getting tired, or they're chasing your jerkbait and they're like, nah, no thanks. So maybe you go to a different color jerkbait to entice them. Or if you're bed fishing and you're throwing black and blue and you throw on a orange or a red or something, or if, for me, it's more about, because I don't think the fish are too, I mean, they care about color because they can see different colors in the water column and, with overcast skies and clear skies. But I feel like it's more how you present the bait to them, whether it's in the middle of the column, whether it's on the bottom, top water, than it is really about color, in my opinion. Now, I think color matters, but I don't think it's the top thing. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Last underrated, overrated, goal setting.
Goal setting?
Yeah.
I mean, that is definitely underrated. You can't overrate a goal. I mean, yeah, 100% underrated. I go with that. You got to set goals for yourself. You have to achieve something.
I'm going overrated.
Oh, geez.
Here's why. I used to think that goals were the next best thing. What I feel like people miss a lot of times is that you won't fall to the level of your goals. You'll fall to the level of your system to help you attain those goals. I know a lot of people
That's
who
fair.
have goals and they never meet them because they never created the systems in place. And I was thinking about this after a show last night. If you missed last week's show, folks, it was on fire if you wanted to be a content creator, right? I took everyone to the back end of my YouTube analytics. I shared what I made through AdSense. I shared my views, my watch hours, and myself and Seth and Southwest Indiana Angler just walked through. Seth's been doing it just starting. Seth's been doing it, not Seth. Chase's been doing it for 2 years, and I've been doing it 4 years. So if you haven't seen that one and you're listening to this one, and you're interested in potentially pulling the trigger on that, go watch that. But I quickly realized, just because I set a goal early on in YouTube, it was really like, okay, I really want to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I know I'm going to have to put, some videos together in order to do that. But I never actually put the systems in place, and I never actually treated it like a business. And I think people wonder why don't I ever meet my goals? Because you don't have the systems in place to meet your goals, and that is what's going to keep you from reaching them. Goal setting's fine. I mean, it's part of the systems process. However, I think there's a huge miss there. So there's a caveat. We're kind of saying the same thing. It took a different angle, but yes, that's where
that's cool. I agree with that.
Yeah. Kevin Mabry says, in my industry, you're only trained to do the level of what you have worked at. When crap goes to crap, that's what you devolve to. Interesting. Bass Raft says it makes sense. Colin B. Baston said Hobie overrated and underrated. I can't even ask you that because you get helped out by them. So Freddie J.
I mean, what's the on Hobie? What's the biggest concern people have? Is it like customer service, or what is it for Hobies?
About what? I've never even owned one. I just,
what do you hear? What do you hear?
I mean, what I hear, a lot of it's hearsay. I mean, right now, I believe they're owned by the bank. Who knows? Whoever buys them will determine.
Okay.
No, they're owned. They're owned by the bank. The bank owns Hobie right now. And so whoever buys them will determine the future of this massive brand. Someone might buy it. I don't know what state of the company it's in. I mean, if the bank's taking over, making decisions, I imagine not pretty good, right? And so, we'll see. I think it's bad for the industry and bad for the kayak fishing family for such a mega brand to not continue being a forward progress in our industry. So by no means do I want that. And so I hope that whatever is happening over there, and it's kind of veiled. I'm hearing stuff, but I don't know it's like a game of telephone. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just hope that anglers get the service that they need, and when a kayak needs warranty, they get excellent service from it, and everyone's really happy, and they're out there fishing, and they don't get frustrated. And that's ultimately what I want. It's also it's fun to push your buttons and from time to time. And I've had people on the show that obviously not big fans of Hobies and not big fans of their kayak series, and I've had people who loved it. So look at that.
Should say Hobie over here somewhere.
Is that what it should? Is that what it should say?
It was the first place trophy I was holding to the camera for the people listening that can't see. On a Hobie. So, I'm just playing. What else you got, Darren? What else you got?
Man, we're an hour and 49, and you're at 89 subscribers. I'm gonna refresh it. I'm not shutting this back. 90.
There it is. Shut her down.
Shut it down. See you guys later. See you next year. See you next week on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed Live. I'm just kidding. No, that's what I. No, this is good. It was good. I think I learned a lot about jerkbait. I don't believe that you thought we were going to go an hour and 40 talking about it, but we stayed.
No, you came up with some good questions
for the most part. I can take a deep dive. That's for sure. I was like, hey, I didn't have time during lunch today, so I was like, ask my wife, hey, can I go down? In 30 minutes, I was set. I was like, everything I want to know. Essentially, it's everything that I want to know, and I just ask you those questions. Everyone else is along for the ride, and I'm sure glad they are because they're a lot of fun. Love their comments.
I have a quick question for you. I know we got to run here soon. Were you surprised at how close I was at Gunnersville? How close I was casting and how close the fish were to my kayak that I was catching?
I was surprised by it because typically you think in your mind, more time my lure's in the water, higher the percentages. And man, You were like, you could pet them. You were that close.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was shallow. A lot of those areas were pretty shallow too. So
they were pretty shallow. It was fun
fishing.
fishing with someone with FFS. You've never done it before. Seth is like, cast over there 20 feet. There's a hole with no grass, and there's like 15 bass that swim around there losing their minds. And so I go over there, and what I do, I go catch them. And they weren't big, but it was just fun to actually catch one when you kind of were dry for an hour or so. But finding the big ones is hard. I think the biggest I got today was 18 and a half. And I was thinking to myself, I catch 18 and a half in Ohio. Why did I travel all the way down to Lake Guntersville? Yeah, one of the best bass fisheries in the country to go catch an 18 and a half and a 99 of a bunch of bass that were shorter than that. So, oh, man. But it was fun. Well, folks, appreciate you. Seth, appreciate you. Next week, you're doing the podcast. No, we got one. We got one next week. I think I have Gene Jensen on next week.
I think you do.
Heck yeah. We got the Fluke Master on. This is going to be
about techniques. He will go deep, I'm sure.
We're going to go to town. It's going to be a good time. I had him on once before, and I was like, hey, he's like, put me in the rotation. I had a good time. I was like, great. Well, I got a co-host now. It's going to be more of a good time. So it's going to be fun. But just a special thanks to Kayak Bass Fishing for sponsoring the show. And don't miss out on those CPR tournaments that take place. I am fishing in March. I'm not quite sure because it's almost halfway through March, and I haven't caught a fish yet because there's been ice on the water. And I think it was a bad mistake because everyone down south in Ohio is already putting bass on the board. So I got some catching up to do, and I'm on vacation this month. So we'll see how that works. But nonetheless, I'll be doing them every single month in Ohio. I think all the way till October where they stop them. But head over to kayakbassfishing.com, hit the compete button, learn all about it, and sign up. Love to fish against you. And if you're feeling I don't know what the word is, Seth, I think you need to take a chunk out of Dalton. And here's the thing. It pays out in second place, and it's not that much different than first, which I've noticed.
Are you allowed to share how much how much?
Yeah, the payout schedule is on KBF.
What is it typically like?
It all depends on how many anglers are in it.
Are we talking $1,000? We're talking 500, 300?
No, I usually don't get that much. I don't know what Florida looks like. If there's a lot of anglers, probably not, because not a lot of people are like, oh, I'm getting really excited about it. And then they see Dalton in there. Yeah. But someone needs to dethrone that bass hog down there. I love him.
I'm going to be traveling a little bit. I'm fishing some of the Bassmaster events. So I'll be out of state, be at Dale Hollow, couple different states. I'm not going to the Bassmaster Classic next week. It's such a tough decision, man. Ugh. Yeah, qualified can't go, but
it's $50. And I mean, I've got second before and won a couple $100. It's just kind of fun to do on the side.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
You're out there.
Absolutely.
And so second pays out, and it's actually not that bad considering, like, I lost first to someone last year. And like literally they caught 2 giant bass in like the last day with like 4 hours to go. And I was kind of upset until I saw the payout. I was like, oh, I didn't lose that much money between first and second. So I was like, all right, not too bad.
For second. That'd be cool.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week on the KFO show with Fluke Master. You guys have a great week. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks, Seth.
Yep.